Hi there. I'm going to show you a way to create these hope posters that we've seen for Barack Obama, and kind of this is what we're modeling after, is this type of a thing. But there are a lot of parody posters out there, like here's one for Hillary Clinton, here's one that's just, the Joker. Then you have, Nope, or get a little Star Warsy here, a little Obi-Wan Only Hope. So anyway, lots of different little options out there for Hope Poster. For my class, you're going to create one of yourself. And then if you have time, I'd encourage you to create a parody poster of your own as well. So anyway, that's kind of what we're going after in the end. One thing that we will do first is to download the font called Primetime. And you do have written instructions for this that you can follow through, or you can follow along with me. So I'm going to download this and go ahead and unzip this file and install this TrueType font file. And in my classroom, you should have rights to install those fonts. And then that should make that accessible to Photoshop. Now, do be sure you install the fonts before you get into Photoshop, so it has time to register those fonts. So that's what we're going to do. Then we're going to start off by creating a new document. Our new document is going to be 1,000 pixels by 1515. And I will give you a little moment here where I will credit the source of my inspiration. I found a tutorial online from Blue Lightning TV. It was a video tutorial, but they didn't have written instructions, and there were a couple of ways they did some things that aren't quite the way I wanted to do them. So I'm recreating this my own way, but it is heavily influenced by that tutorial. So thanks for that, for those guys. All right, so we're going to create this, and then, of course, hopefully you've got a folder that you've got everything saved into. You do need a picture of yourself or whatever it is you're going to be doing saved as well ahead of time. I think that a more serious picture kind of looks better for this, but certainly you can do whatever you like. You also don't have to put the word hope at the bottom. You can put something else, but kind of 3 to 5 letters does look better on these, in my opinion. All right, so we've got that in there. Ahead of time, you're probably going to want to go ahead and get your photo copied over, and really before you start watching this with me, you'll want to already have that picture opened and selected. One thing that you are going to want to do with your picture when you drag it over is to adjust the levels. You can see this is a rather dark picture, and I'm not going to get too caught up here because I don't need you just staring and watching me select. So I'm not going to make a perfect selection, and quite frankly on this project it doesn't really have to be, just because the nature of the project, we're going to turn it more into an illustration. Well, you need it to be a little better than that, I guess. We're not going to keep down low, so we don't have to really worry too much about the shoulders and so forth, but I'm going to get a little bit of this here. One thing that I would suggest is when you refine your edge here, do put this out to a new layer with a layer mask. That way, if you did forget something, we can paint that back in once you get it over to your main document. So I'm going to refine edge. Oops, looks like I missed an eyeball. That's never a good thing. Shouldn't miss your kids' eyeballs. All right. This isn't great, but I'm just going to smart radius it a tad and smooth it a bit and call it a day. Now you'll want to spend a little more time. I'm going to put this out to a new layer with a layer mask and then pull it on over to our document. It's probably going to be pretty big, and we'll just size it down. All right. This is my oldest daughter, or my youngest daughter, by the way. Letting Alexis be my star for the day. And if you look at the example picture, pretty much we're going to cover up the whole bottom of the poster. We're going to have words down there at the bottom. So if we kind of go back and look at the example, you'll see it's mostly just head and a tiny bit of shoulders, and that's pretty much it. So I'll go ahead and size that back up just a smidgen. And again, if you need to touch it up, use your layer mask, which you should have brought over with. I am going to take a black paintbrush real quick. I need to make sure I'm choosing a regular standard brush here. I need to paint that out. I've got some weird remnants here. Paint that out. Use black paintbrush. Again, you would want to zoom up close and do this, but for the sake of time, I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing selections. All right, you really don't need this background layer, so you could get rid of that. One of the things that I have in your instructions ahead of time that you're going to do is to go ahead and get your ruler set, and we're going to go ahead and set up the background. So it doesn't really matter what order you do this in as long as you just do it. So to set up my ruler, I'm just going to go to View and Rulers. So I've got that ready to go. I'm going to create some guides. So my rulers are set on inches here, so I'm going to right click and go set these on pixels. We need a ruler guide going midway through here just to line up our squares or our rectangles. So I'm just going to pull from this one and line it straight up on that 500. It should snap in there. And then for the top of our blue box that's going to go at the bottom, I'm going to drag from the top ruler and about 1210 pixels roughly is where the top of that box is going to go. And down here is where it'll say hope or whatever you're going to put. Then we're going to create the rectangles. Now there are like 4 colors that we're going to use in this. There's a dark blue, a light blue, a red, and a yellow. Technically you could go ahead and create those swatches if you wanted to. You are going to use them again, so I don't go through those instructions really in the handout, but that is certainly something that you could choose to do. The left-hand side, we're going to have a blue rectangle. Just cover the entire left side over here with a pale blue rectangle, and I give you specifically the hexadecimal color codes to use here. So do please make sure that you set the colors to match what the traditional poster uses. So your blue rectangle is 7498A4, and that's going to be that one. And see right here, we could add that to swatches. That way it's going to be in there. Let's call it Hope Light Blue. And then I've got that in there, and that's ready to roll. On the other side, of course, we're going to draw another one and line it up again with your guide and all the way across. This one's going to be red, and again, we've got a color code for that, so we'll come in here and type in that color code. And in this case, the red is E0 1825, and that should be the red color. Again, I'm going to go ahead and add it to my swatches just in case I need it again. So there we go. We've got those in there. And then along the bottom, this bottom half, we're going to have an additional rectangle. This is going to be the dark blue color that we're going to use. So again, just line up with your guide and draw that rectangle down there. And there we go. And then this is going to be the dark blue color that we're going to use. And that dark blue color is going to be the color 003 24B. And again, if you want to add that to your swatches, go right ahead. And that would be the color for down there. So now we've basically got these all set up. And technically at this point, if you didn't like these guides being here, you can turn your move tool back on and double click and get rid of them, or just drag them back up to where they are if it's bothering you. All right, so then you've got your photo of yourself, and we are going to position that between these layers. Okay, so you've got your word box blue, you've got your red box, and you've got the blue box, and this background copy here is going to be in between those, like so. This word box is going to be on top. All right, now we get to do fun stuff to the person layer. But one of the things that I'm going to have you to do first is to adjust the levels so this photo has really good contrast. Right now it's kind of dark. Now we are going to do this destructively just because it's easier here. We don't really need to have a bunch of adjustment layers. So I'm going to go to image and adjustments, which means it's going to do it to the layer, not to an adjustment layer, and that's okay for this. I'm going to go to levels. You can choose auto and it'll try to go ahead and set that for you. And then if you feel like you need to darken the darks, you can pull this up some. Or if you need to whiten the whites, lighten the light areas, you can pull this in some. So it's really just a matter of personal preference. These colors aren't going to look like this anyway, but we just want to increase our contrast. So once you've got your levels going on, our next instruction is going to be to apply a cutout filter. Now, of course, we could do this as a smart filter, which would make it editable, but we don't need to for this project. So we're just going to go straight away to filters and artistic and cutout. And I've kind of given you some settings, which the tutorial I used as well. I think that these settings work pretty good for most uses. If it doesn't work good for you, like if your mouth completely disappears, you may need to go back and make some changes. Technically, the settings that the tutorial I used said to use are 5, 5, and 1. And that should give you 5 levels, which is 5 colors, and that's gonna work usually best for most of these. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that 5, 5, and 1, and again, this is cutout. And if a lot of things disappear, like if you lose the mouth and everything like that, then you may want to change these settings. So we're going to change these colors, so don't worry about the colors just yet. All right, now we're going to start adding some adjustment layers. And to add those, we're going to use our little moons button down here. Add the first adjustment layer is going to be the channel mixer. We're just going to monochrome this puppy. So let's check this to make it monochrome. And that takes care of our first adjustment. Then we're going to hit this little button here, which just is going to clip the adjustment in. I'm going to undock my layers panel so you can see what's going on here. So as we do these, it makes a little bit more sense. So right now there it is, but it's not clipped to that background layer. So we are going to clip that in, and this little button here will do it for us so we don't have to do it. There, see, it's clipped in now. We can see the red and the blue again. All right, now we're going to hit this back button so we can add another adjustment. And the second adjustment that we're going to add is posterize. And the posterized adjustment layer, I never remember which one this one is, there we go, is going to make it look a little bit different. And again, we're going to have 5 colors in our gradient, so we are going to set it a posterized level of 5, which is going to give us 5 different colors. In this case, it'll be 5 gray colors, but we'll change that in a second. Once again, clip it in so that it just applies to that one layer. Then finally, we've got one more. This is a cool one. This is the gradient map. So we hit back and we come here and choose gradient map. Again, we need to clip it in or it's going to do it to everything like it did. And then we're going to click on the gradient and we're going to set some stops. We're going to set, so there's 5 total. 1, and then 1 here at about 25%, 1 at 50, and 1 at 75. And later we'll adjust these numbers so that we can make sure it's exactly where it goes. So this first one, we're going to set to the first color there, the dark blue. And if you have your color libraries, I've got Pantones here, so that's not going to work. You can set your colors if you've got them listed up here. And I don't think I've got my swatches listed, so I'm just going to go ahead and type them in. So you can click on here and type in your colors. And so we want that first blue, 00324B. That's going to be the dark blue. And then here on the second location, this is going to be the red. And it's technically 25%. Let's go ahead and put that in there. And then we're going to type in the color for the red one. Let me turn my page so I have my numbers. The red one is E01825. We've got that one here. This one should be at 50%. That's the halfway point. And this is going to be a lighter blue color. So we'll click here and type in the light blue color, which is 749, 8A, and 4. And then finally here, this is going to be the yellow color. This is at 75%. Boy, I didn't hit any of those, did I? And we'll type in the yellow color code that we're going to use, which is FDE5A and 9. And that gives us that yellow. And then we're going to put that yellow here at the 100 point, or the 100 percentage point as well. So that same one, you could have copied and pasted, I guess. Again, FDE5A9, so that we have that same color then on that edge. Now we've got our gradient, and we're going to hit OK here, and that's going to apply those colors that you saw in the Hope poster to the image. And now they're in there. And all of these should be clipped in at this point. If you have the handout in front of you, you'll see these layers are all in this exact same order, and that's what we want to do. So essentially, other than adding the text at the bottom and a border around the outside edge, we've done most everything here. If you want to do like the original, it has some lines that are kind of worked in. There's a way to do that. And I'm going to pick that up in what I'm going to call part 2 of this tutorial. So you want to make sure right now that yours kind of looks like this. And you can see now the fact that I didn't have perfect edges really didn't matter so much when I did my selection. And that's kind of the beauty of this project. So, all right, I'm going to give this a pause and pick up with part 2.